Every coach knows it. Every player feels it. The final 15 minutes. The most terrifying time in football. You could be 1 goal up, even 2, and still feel the fear creeping in. Because somewhere on that touchline, a man once looked at his watch, and time itself seemed to bend. That man was Sir Alex Ferguson. And what he created wasn't luck.
Cleared, Giggs with a shot, Sheringham!
It was a weapon. Fergie Time. The power that broke champions.
Into Sheringham, and Solskjaer has won it!
And built Manchester United's empire. But today, Rúben Amorim, the young coach who shattered a 19-year curse at Sporting CP. Now, he's crossed the border into the fiercest league on earth. Chasing another ghost, Manchester United's 13-year drought. Ruben Amorim isn't just rebuilding a team, he's trying to rewrite destiny. There's one thing still missing. The time that refuses to die.
Once upon a time, 90 minutes at Old Trafford never meant 90 minutes. Under Sir Alex Ferguson, time itself bent for Manchester United. Games were never over. Not until belief said so. It was called Fergie Time. But it wasn't about luck or referees. It was about energy, momentum, and obsession. The belief that something would happen because it had to. That psychological weapon terrified opponents. It turned average games into miracles, and late defeats into folklore. The crowd felt it. The players fed off it. And together, they wrote endings no one else dared to write. But when Ferguson left, so did that rhythm. United didn't just lose a manager, they lost their pulse. Late goals became late collapses. The theater of dreams became a theater of anxiety. 10 years later, the question remains, can anyone bring back that feeling, that inevitability again? Enter Rúben Amorim, the coach whose football demands chaos, energy, and control. He didn't grow up under Ferguson, but he understands his secret. Belief is not built by chance. It's trained, rehearsed, and embedded into the system itself. And maybe, just maybe, Fergie Time is about to return. Amorim's Manchester United don't play football to survive. They play to overwhelm. His 3-4-3 isn't about formation. It's about control through aggression. Every pass forward is an act of faith. Every duel, a small piece of belief. The front three press high. Mbeumo, Sesko, Cunha, while the wingbacks stretch the pitch to its limits. Behind them, Casemiro and Bruno Fernandes hold a fragile balance between courage and chaos. It's exhausting football, physically and mentally. For 70 minutes, it suffocates opponents. But after that, something dangerous happens. Fatigue, mistakes, panic. This is the part Amorim is learning to master, the final 20 minutes. Ferguson's teams turned exhaustion into adrenaline. Amorim's must learn the same trick. To find rhythm when legs are gone. To believe when patterns break. And that's the evolution. Amorim's football doesn't need a new idea. It needs Ferguson's timing. A mentality that refuses to die after 85 minutes. Every late goal, every roar in stoppage time, it's not nostalgia, it's resurrection. To understand why Amorim's 3-4-3 falters, you have to understand Fergie Time. For outsiders, it was just stoppage time goals. For United fans, it was an identity. It meant the team never stopped believing. It meant tactical adaptability. Ferguson could rip up his plan in the 80th minute and throw everything forward. A 4-4-2 could become a 4-3-3. Wingers became second strikers, and even center backs would join the attack. Fergie Time was controlled chaos. Opponents crumbled under the pressure because United's players were flexible, fearless, and relentless. Amorim's 3-4-3 is the opposite. It thrives on control, structure, repetition. It works when players stick to the blueprint. But football in the last 10 minutes rarely follows blueprints. Games become frantic, broken, emotional. The system's rigidity becomes a weakness. Instead of adapting, it freezes. Instead of thriving in chaos, it crumbles. This is why United fans grow restless. They remember Ferguson's sides, the late winners, the belief that no game was ever lost. And when they see Amorim's 3-4-3 struggling to respond, when the system feels predictable instead of explosive, frustration grows. At Old Trafford, you cannot just be a tactician. You must be a gambler, a fighter, a believer in chaos. Fergie Time wasn't about perfection, it was about survival. And Amorim's 3-4-3 may not be built for survival. Fergie Time was never mystical, it was mental engineering. Ferguson knew human limits. He built squads that didn't crumble when hope died. He trained their minds to see opportunity where others saw endings. He used psychology as much as tactics. Late subs weren't random, they were emotional triggers. Crowd noise, body language, timing, all calibrated to tilt the final moments. Now look at Amorim. He builds belief through structure, repetition, triggers, trust. Every training session repeats endgame chaos. 5 minutes, no breaks, 1 goal needed. He's rebuilding that same mental DNA Ferguson once had, through modern methods, where Ferguson shouted, Amorim rehearses. Where Fergie created fear, Amorim creates order. But both are chasing the same miracle, to make Manchester United believe again. And maybe that's why Amorim feels like a bridge, the past whispering into the future. Manchester United has become a graveyard of managers with dreams. Van Gaal brought philosophy. Mourinho brought pragmatism. Solskjaer brought nostalgia. Ten Hag brought structure. Each promised a future. Each was undone by the weight of expectation. Amorim is no different. His 3-4-3 is daring but unforgiving. It demands perfection in a league where perfection doesn't exist. It requires discipline from players who too often crumble. And it clashes with a culture that demands late drama, not rigid systems. At Sporting, Amorim was the golden boy. At Old Trafford, he is learning the brutal truth. Systems don't survive here unless they adapt to chaos, unless they embrace Fergie Time. Because United isn't just another football club, it is a theater of expectation. The crowd doesn't forgive predictability, the press doesn't forgive failure, and history only remembers winners. For Amorim, the challenge is clear. He must evolve, bend his system, and inject flexibility. If not, his 3-4-3 will join the long list of ideas that looked good on paper, but died on the grass of Old Trafford. At Manchester United, you are not judged by possession, by pressing, or by passing maps. You are judged by moments. And in the final minutes, when chaos reigns, moments are all that matter. Amorim's system may be beautiful, but beauty alone doesn't survive here. At Old Trafford, the unforgiven truth is this: only the adaptable last. In Amorim's modern Fergie Time, it isn't luck, it's patterns. Late in games, the 3-4-3 shape morphs. Wingbacks push, midfield squeezes, forwards rotate like storm fronts. Šeško drops deep to pull defenders. Mbeumo and Ahmad cut inside, forming triangles with Mainu and Mount. Suddenly, opponents are boxed in, oxygen gone. That's Amorim's version of Fergie Time. A tactical press of faith, the belief that pressure itself creates luck. Against Newcastle, against Spurs, even against Sunderland, United finished stronger. They ran harder in minute 90 than in minute 10. That's not fitness, that's culture. And culture is how Ferguson won. Amorim's trying to build the same fire. System first, spirit second, belief forever. In stoppage time, Amorim's United don't pray for moments, they manufacture them. Ferguson once said, "At Manchester United we don't play for points, we play for history." That's what Amorim is rediscovering. the pulse that once made Old Trafford immortal. Fergie Time isn't nostalgia anymore. It's a living blueprint. One Amorim is stitching into a new generation. A system of movement, faith, and madness. A reminder that in football, glory doesn't arrive on schedule. You force it into existence. If United keep believing beyond the 90th minute, they won't just win games. They'll win back the fear, the aura, the inevitability that once made Manchester United unstoppable. Maybe that's how Amorim evolves this club. Not by copying Ferguson, but by resurrecting what Ferguson taught. That belief, when trained, becomes destiny. So the question isn't whether Fergie Time still exists. It's whether Amorim can own it, and if he can, then United's story isn't repeating, it's restarting. Subscribe for more tactical stories. United's pulse is back.